Grammy Award winner and philanthropist Jon Bon Jovi is honoring our veterans and their service with his new song, Unbroken.
Where's my brothers? Where's my country? Where's my how things used to be?
For the next 12 months, all proceeds from the song will go to the Patriotic Service Dog Foundation. The nonprofit provides highly trained service dogs to veterans in need at no cost. Bon Jovi wrote the anthem for the new documentary To Be of Service about veterans who live with PTSD and the service animals who help them heal.
Getting my dog, getting my Timothy, it was second only to my child.
So I took medication, and I didn't want to be a zombie. Booth looked up, I looked at him, and he ran to me. That's when everything started to get a lot better.
It's a very powerful documentary, and Jon Bon Jovi is with us. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yes,
guys.
on this holiday, good to see you.
Talk to us about this song, which you've written from the perspective of a service member.
Yeah.
How did you go about writing it?
I was asked to write the song, and it was going to be a difficult task because I hadn't served in the military.
Yeah.
The
You
goal-
wondered if you were the right guy to write it.
Sure, because the goal is honesty.
Yeah.
You have to be honest if you're going to take on this task, and yet be truthful in its delivery so that men and women who did serve will feel a pride when they hear the song. So I talked to the director prior to his having the cut put together. He gave me some key anecdotal lines that the soldiers had discussed with him. And I asked him what the name, the title of the film was. He said, To Be of Service. And I said, I got
Ding,
it.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I watched the documentary and I heard the song, it's like you captured everything so brilliantly in your song, because they talk about what the dogs mean to them serving. 22 people a day die from suicide who are veterans. But the thing that got me in the doc, all of them said they would do it all again, and that's what you said in your song, too.
I was trying to find hope at the end of the journey here. And to think that each of these men and women said the one thing is that I would do it all again. When you're making a record, you usually end it with the chorus.
Yeah.
Yes.
In this case, it was such a powerful line that while we were recording it, we said, no, this is the end of the song. The journey ends here with the positivity.
So the proceeds for the song will go to a service dog foundation. I think that's a beautiful thing. My aunt actually trained service dogs.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
And she tells me some of the stories. And I was interested in the documentary to learn that the Department of Veterans Affairs supports veterans with PTSD, but does not actually support funding of service dogs for those veterans with PTSD. Do you think the government's doing enough?
Well, I think that they're doing their surveys to make sure that the training is done properly. And my education, obviously, is on the first page of the book. But what I've been led to believe is that the process is, again, going through Congress to try to get a bill passed so that the government will support this.
Well, if
Because-
they see that documentary, John, as you know, they said the dogs are better than medication, than therapy, than a prosthetic. I looked at that, and I found it overwhelming what the difference that the dogs make. What did this doc mean to you personally? You said you haven't served, but your family certainly has.
Both your parents were Marines, right?
My mom and dad met in the Marine Corps, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah,
You know,
pretty
my
unusual.
mom was a Marine, and she wasn't afraid of boot camp. So.
How did that influence your upbringing?
Yeah, well, it was, service was always important. My parents taught us that. And although I didn't serve, my three best buddies, there were 4 of us in high school, we all got the call. I had a belief that I was going to be, doing what I do. The other 3 guys joined the Navy. So that's where we come from.
You have a foundation. This really struck me. You have a foundation that helped fund something called the new Walter Reed Veterans Apartments. Tell us what that is.
77 units thus far of affordable housing for vets with services all under one roof. We partnered with Help USA. It's not the first time I've partnered with the great organization Help USA to build houses for veterans. And
there's not only housing for them, there's support for them in there as well.
That's service providing is the key element there. So they can get any kind of medical legal advice. There's job opportunities all under these roofs.
I think philanthropy is your middle name, Jon Bon Jovi. I remember Hurricane Katrina, when Oprah was raising money for the victims down there. He came with $1 million check. We all know about your soul-to-soul kitchens that you have in New Jersey that you and Dorothy are helping to feed people there. I mean, there's something, you have that gene that you want to give back and you want to help people.
Well, I don't need the scientists to find the cure in these cases.
You really
it takes
don't.
A little bit of money, a lot of sweat.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what we do at the Soul Kitchens.
Your new album, Bon Jovi 2020, you said is a socially conscious record, not a political one. What's the difference between
Yeah, how does that work?
I didn't take sides in this issue, for example.
Yeah.
You know, I'm speaking as the soldier. The album is called 2020. It's an election year. There's a wryness in the title.
You thinking about getting in?
Not me. Somebody once asked a joke. They said to President Clinton and I, whose job was better? And I said, mine. And he said, well, why do you say that? I said, because I got to keep the house in the airplane.
That is good.
That's a great.
But wait, help me understand something. So this album, which has past songs on it, almost did not have "Living on a Prayer" included.
Oh, Slippery When Wet did not. Well, when we wrote Slippery all those years ago, I thought, it's okay, maybe we should give this one away. And Richie slapped me upside the head because it was so different. If you think about that song, it didn't sound like anything on any radio station at the time. It was unique. We created a different vibe with it.
You didn't think it fit on the album?
I just thought it was so different, it was weird, you know.
But what's the difference between socially conscious and political? Because you said you take no political.
I take no sides.
Yeah.
You know, there's songs on this forthcoming record that address guns. There's the atmosphere in Washington. There's the soldiers with PTSD. That's a very different record than You Give Love a Bad Name.
He's on the side of the facts, is what he's saying. You know, the guitar, you can sit here. I'll go out on tour.
Yeah.
Take
but I don't take sides
Yeah.
because, look, we all are entitled to our opinions, right? And so that's what America is. We're supposed to govern all Americans together and represent all together. And I think this record does that. But it is obvious in what I'm speaking to.
All right, Jon Bon Jovi. Thank you for coming in on the
thank you,
holidays.
guys.
Thank you,
Really,
guys.
really appreciate it. And again, all the proceeds from downloads of Unbroken, with this prayer I'm hoping we can be unbroken, currently go to the Patriotic Service Dog Foundation. To Be of Service is available right now on Netflix.